I gotta say, Victor Wembanyama is pretty unfair if you don't have the requisite size to deal with him. France dismantles Slovenia without Luka Dončić. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Spurs. My name is Matthew Tynan. Thank you so much, as always, for making us a part of your day. On today's show, we're going to get into a couple of voicemails. I know that we said the Mailbag episode is going to be tomorrow, Friday, but they're already pouring in. We got a couple of voicemails and we decided, you know what? Let's just get to them. They're good calls. They're good questions. We got plenty more questions coming up for tomorrow. The first being, or I guess the voicemails, what is the De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper endgame here? And then also, what are some rules? If we could implement some new rules throughout the course of an NBA game, what would they be? A little fun exercise. But first, Victor Wembanyama and Team France dismantled Slovenia today, 92-67. Slovenia did not have Luka Dončić. They also were woefully undersized. Without Luka Dončić, couldn't really score, and defensively did not have the manpower to keep up with Victor Wembanyama. Today was simply an exercise in, or I guess I should say a reflection of the following. For as talented and skilled and just versatile and unique as Victor Wembanyama is as a basketball player, I think that too often we just kind of forget that his greatest skill is simply that he makes people look small. Otherwise, large human beings, the biggest people on the planet, he simply makes them look small. Oftentimes, it looks like he's playing on a Nerf hoop. It looks like he's playing against kids. And I'm not even trying to belittle anybody. No pun intended at all. I'm not trying to be negative or belittle any of the international players, the bigs that are playing for France. But today was just a showcase in Victor just simply being bigger than everybody. Whether it was the lobs to the rim, the offensive rebounds, which, by the way, in the international game is, when I say Victor Wembanyama is unfair, the fact that you can get up and tap balls that are coming off of the rim and it's not offensive goaltending, just a completely unfair advantage for Victor Wembanyama in that capacity. And, here's the thing, Slovenia is a good basketball team. No Luka Dončić takes away a massive chunk of who they are, but when they're whole, and there are people out there who are much more knowledgeable on the international game than I am, but to the extent of my knowledge, Slovenia, when they're right, when they're fully healthy, yada, 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 that is a top 3 or 4 international team outside of the United States. I'm simply putting the USA over here in this basket. But Slovenia is a good basketball team. And France dismantled them today. I also wanted to say, I know last week I was, realistic but critical of France's guards. Just saying that without, that there hasn't really been a great point guard. That's to say the least. Since Tony Parker, obviously Nando De Colo, who Spurs fans are familiar with as well, was a solid, who came after Tony Parker, was a good organizer of the offense, a good passer, all of these things. But France has really struggled with their young guards over the last however many years between Killian Hayes, Nolan Traore. I got to say, though, I really enjoyed watching Sylvain Francisco today. That dude is very small, but he is lightning fast, and I really enjoyed watching him. I thought the French team did a good job of getting the ball to Victor Wembanyama where he didn't need to do much at all. Victor Wembanyama scored a bunch in a few minutes. I'm sorry. Do not remember off the top of my head how many points he scored. I know he had 14 at half. I know I watched him score at least another 8 more. So, he did fine. He did more than fine. But it's another dose of reality when you're looking at this 22-year-old go up against grown men, no matter whether it's the NBA or FIBA. And there are players, real professional basketball players, who just look small next to him and look like they cannot do anything. Like, there were a couple of points during that game today where the announcers were basically like, as Victor is going up and tipping a ball in, getting fouled, while someone is attempting to box him out, and he's just reaching over the top and getting to the ball, and the announcing crew was like, what are you supposed to do? What in the world is so-and-so, player X, player Y, what are they supposed to do? This was one of those games. Victor didn't have to do too much today. He's not pushing himself too hard physically. I think if you're a Spurs fan, you love to see the fact that he's doing well without having to really push the limits. You'll want him getting to training camp healthy. I believe he's got one more game in this qualifying round before you're in the clear. But so far, so good for Victor Wembanyama, especially after he had a bit of a rocky start to this qualifying round in the first friendly against Serbia. I think there were people that were overreacting a little bit to that game. I told you not to worry. I promise you I always lead you in the right direction. All right, Tyler, the producer, is here, as he usually is. I know that you actually watched some of this game today.
I did.
First of all, that's a big step.
Thanks for reminding me it was happening.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you found the right feed, which, of course, I mean being responsible and paying for DAZN.
Of course.
And going through all the right channels and all of the above. What were you? Do you agree? Do you agree? I was watching until midway through the third quarter, and at that point I was like, I really don't need to see anymore. This thing is over. They can't do anything with him. He doesn't even have to try very hard. He just has to lurk, roll to the rim, cut to the rim, lurk around the rim, and all France has to do, frankly, is just get the ball up to the rim. Whatever whether it's a lob, whether it's just throwing up a three-pointer, just getting a shot up, just get the ball to the basket, and the chances are pretty high that he's going to go and get it.
Yeah, I don't know how many putbacks he had, but it seemed like every other time down the court.
Yes.
Yeah, Slovenia doesn't have the size, and they also rely a lot on Luka Dončić for their playmaking. I haven't watched a ton of Slovenia basketball, but I did watch their run in the Tokyo Olympics a few years ago when they were one Nicholas Batum block away from being in the gold medal game against the U.S. Yeah. So they're a good basketball team, but Luka Dončić really is the one that helps them create all the looks because he draws the defense in ways that the rest of the guys just don't draw.
Yeah, to be fair, like few in the world, few in the world draw attention the way Luka Dončić does, and that is obviously a critical element to their game. So it's like you. By the way, Luka Dončić isn't playing because he decided to step away from the team to spend time with if anyone. I know I mentioned this when we talked about skinny Luka recently the other day, but he's been in the middle of this custody battle with his ex-fiance. I know that he's been spending time with his daughters and also dealing with the custody situation that I believe is resolved. So that's why he's away from qualifiers. Unfortunate. Would have been fun to watch. Would have been fun to watch Luka versus Wemby, but just watching Victor play basketball, it's a reminder that basketball is right around the corner, man.
Yeah,
Training camp is a month away.
Spurs play the Lakers a few times every year, so we'll get to see that matchup.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah.
We're not going to miss out on any Luka Victor when it matters most. That's all we can say here. All right, on the other side of the break, we are going to get to some ideas for rule changes. We have voicemails coming up. Thank you, as always, to those of you who submitted. We'll talk to y'all in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location, so you spend less time searching and more time finding the right fit. In the minute or so I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Usually the biggest difference isn't one person doing more work. It's having somebody who knows what they're doing and makes everything run smoothly. Spend less time searching and more time interviewing quality candidates. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, you can rely on Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Spurs. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Alrighty, we are back, and just a reminder, if you are new to the program, please consider hitting the subscribe button, not to mention the like button, and if you've been with us for a long time, I guess it's going on about half a year that we've been around these parts, we appreciate all the support, all the likes, all the shares, all the kind words and the not so kind words. Listen, we're all contributing and working together to build a well-rounded program with multiple viewpoints, and that includes y'all's. And thank you all for the support that you all have shown us along the way. We genuinely do appreciate every last bit of it. All right, Tyler.
Yes.
And this voicemail is actually perfect because I just spoke a minute ago about international NBA rules and the fact that it almost makes it when Victor Wembanyama is playing under international rules, it's almost unfair. But let's just before we talk about that, let's get into Holly's voicemail.
This voicemail is from Holly, and whatever microphone you were using to record this, keep doing it because the audio quality made me very happy.
Hi, Matthew and Tyler. This is Holly. Really enjoy the podcast. I'm calling in to submit a question for your mailbag episode. So my understanding of the upcoming season is that there are no in-game rule changes, just changes to the lottery. So my question is, are there any in-game rule changes you'd like to see and why? Like half-court shots being worth more points or incorporating more G League or FIBA rules. Thanks so much for considering my question.
So, A, yes, audio quality, excellent. Also, B, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but when we saw the voicemail today, both Tyler and I were like, a girl called? We're very excited. We know that we have women out there listening to this show, but let me tell you, we've seen the analytics. It is like 90-10 dudes. So to get a woman's voice on here is very welcomed, and I promise you that at some point in the near future, I will have a woman on the show to talk Spurs, to give voice to the fairer sex around here because we need more of it, frankly.
Absolutely.
Tyler,
yes.
you've talked about the international rules before and how you like them. Is that something that you want to jump into, or did you have any other ideas in terms of rules that you'd like to see implemented around the NBA game?
Well, as a fan of Victor Wembanyama, the no offensive goaltending rules, I'm a big fan of that. I think we should bring that into the NBA. But I will say something that really hit me when I was watching this France-Slovenia game earlier is how much quicker the game moves. Now, a lot of that is there like no commercial breaks in the middle of the game, which I think is really cool and will never happen in the NBA. But there's also a lot less foul calls. There's a lot less stoppage. And I think that's something that the NBA could definitely benefit from. Not saying like don't call all the fouls and that kind of stuff.
So one of these days we're gonna nail down like the exact right amount in your when it comes to your fouling preferences, because we have talked about your thoughts on.
Well, I just want it, officiated the same.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. First of all, I want to piggyback on Holly's 4-point shot idea, because I'm with it. I actually think that a 4-pointer, and I don't want to go any further than this. Don't look at this as like opening a can of worms where there's going to then be a 5-point shot and a 6-point shot and all that. I want to stop at 4, but shooting from behind half court, you already have a line. It's made perfectly. It's already on the court. I also think that it would make end of game scenarios more interesting. I think that because of how good these guys are at shooting, that there is legitimate, like, if you're up by 4, you got to defend full court. Like, you got to defend beyond the 45 feet, beyond the 50 feet, because guys can pull up from there and hit shots.
Yeah.
And we don't need anything less, or I guess no shorter distance than the half court line, because we already see guys when they get hot. Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, who's coming back. Hell, we saw Victor Wembanyama against Oklahoma City in game 1 from whatever it was, 32 feet. So, like, these logo threes, we know that these guys can hit those.
Absolutely.
But the half court, like, I think that it would create an interesting strategy. It would force teams to implement different types of strategies late in games. And I think that would be interesting. I think that it would make games maybe, look, I don't think anyone's going to be like banking on hitting the 4-point shot. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be like, well, it's a 1-possession game. You can treat it as such, whereas all you need is a 3-pointer in a traditional 1-point game. But I do think that, like, you talk about stoppage and all that, maybe it would reduce the intentional fouling to send guys to the line a little bit. Maybe like you're drawing up plays to get guys good looks from beyond the half court line, end of quarter, end of half, whatever, certainly end of game if needed. But I think that would be interesting.
I don't know about a 4-point line.
Okay.
It feels like that's taking that too far.
It's
However,
a line on the floor.
However, to your point about stopping guys from fouling at the end of the game to just send them to the free throw line, I do think it would be interesting if wherever you got fouled, that's how many free throws you got to take. So if they go out there and foul you out beyond the 3-point line, even if you don't get to take a shot, you come in and take 3, because now that's a calculation for them on.
But then you're just gonna stay outside the 3-point. Like, you're just gonna, if you're trying to run the clock, you're just gonna sit outside the 3-point line, and you're not gonna go any further. I don't know. You're saying instead of when you're in the bonus, if you foul them 40 feet from the basket, they get 2 free throws. Instead, you're saying they get 3.
Yeah. It's just boring to watch free throws at the end of a game. Like, I want to see you go out there and try to score.
So give them another avenue to score. A 4-point play, a 4-point line, the half-court line. Also, here, this is mine. So I did want to piggyback on Holly's, but here is mine. If a coach wins a challenge, let them keep it.
Yes.
Let them keep
100%.
their challenge. If they lose it, they lose it all. That doesn't change. That's totally fine. If they win, they keep the damn challenge. Also, and I can't believe I'm like, NBA, I'm asking you to look at the way baseball is doing it. Can you imagine saying that like 5 years ago?
No.
The antiquated way that baseball was doing things, not anymore. Now I know that the nature of reviews for like a strike zone call and the ABS system in baseball is totally different than who it went off of in a basketball game or whatever.
Sure.
But, and I'm not even saying like do the whole sensor thing so you could tell who it went off of last. Like, I know that there are ways to track stuff like that, but I'm not even saying do that. One of the things baseball does when it comes to reviewing like runners on the base paths, they send it straight to wherever their headquarters are. I don't think we need to do refs on the court reviewing plays anymore. If it's being reviewed, that thing goes automatically to a designated crew in Secaucus, and they review it and they get it done. And like, it would just streamline and expedite the process. I understand sort of like, we don't want, I know it seems like we're talking out of both sides of our mouths here when we say we want fewer stoppages And then on the other hand, saying, keep your challenges if you win them. But there can be a middle ground, I think, where most people are going to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think that includes expediting the review process. And I think the best way to expedite the review process is kick it to these people in an antiseptic environment, away from a crowd, away from a small monitor. They got these giant theater-sized screens in front of them. They can hyper-analyze it much more quickly than an official on the floor can. So keep your challenge if you win, and every review straight to Secaucus, straight to it.
I would say at the very least, there's a lot of like out of bounds plays, foot on the line type plays that could go to Secaucus, and they can see that stuff right away. And we don't have to spend however many minutes it takes for the refs.
You don't got to walk over to
the
the scores table and talk into the mic, although we would need Billy Kennedy.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the only problem.
See, I don't want to take all of that away.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's a lot of stuff, like whether that's they already do it with a 3-pointer, right? Like if the foot's on the line, they go back and do it. And I actually kind of hate that rule, but
but like I don't understand why they can do it for some stuff and they don't do it for others. And like I don't get it. Anyway, we're trying to have our cake and eat it too. Like
Always.
but everybody is doing that. So, we're going to do it as well. All right. In the final segment today, the thing that we're going to be talking about for I don't know how long. I really don't. Probably a long time. Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. What is the end game? See you in a second. All right, we are back. Final segment of the day, and it's the big one. This is genuinely going to be a topic for as long as these two guys are still on the same team, I fear. Your mic is off.
And probably after, honestly.
And probably after. Oh yeah, no, there will be like after whatever happens, there's going to be a postmortem, no question, and it'll linger on as long as both of them are playing. Anyway, straight to it. Let's get to Christian's voicemail.
My question is what I think is the big question that's in everyone's mind. What is the end game with Fox and Harper? Because it really seems like you can't bring Harper off the bench for much longer. He seems to be amenable to coming off the bench for at least one more season. But what is the end game? Is it to trade De'Aaron Fox in the next 2 years if Dylan Harper is just too good? Or is there some kind of plan in the case that De'Aaron stays for 2-3 years? He just started his contract. How can the roster work with Dylan Harper being as good as he is and you still have De'Aaron Fox? Is it just you got to start all of them, or is there some other solution? So that's my question, Jess. Thanks.
It is the big question, Tyler. It is the big question. Look, I think that we can just be real honest here and say that inevitably Dylan Harper is the future point guard of this team. And I'm even going back to sort of the early stages of last year when I'm in that practice facility. I'm talking with people, and there are people around that team who are saying at that time, this is well before the finals and the postseason and like the explosion sort of on the big stage that has led us even deeper into this conversation that we're in right now. There were people around that team calling Dylan Harper a superstar before any of that. And not star, they're using the word, that kid is a superstar. So this is as we all watch the Dylan Harper development unfold over the course of his rookie year in-house, like this is something that the team has been aware of for a long time. Well, he's only been with the team for a year, but you get what I'm saying. Relatively speaking, a long time. So it wasn't like some giant surprise that he started to really show out when the games mattered more and more. I also think that, look, De'Aaron Fox is a really smart dude. I am sure that when he saw that the Spurs drafted Dylan Harper, he kind of understood what the reality was going to be as well. He knows how the salary cap works. He knows what the Spurs roster is starting to look like. So none of this is like any sort of surprising development. Maybe it's a slight bit surprising in terms of how quickly it happened. Maybe. I don't know. Like, you talk to that team, you talk to the coaches, and even like Brian Wright, and they're saying like who's to say they were ahead of schedule? And a lot of that is confidence, and they're oozing with confidence.
Sure.
But regardless, for it to happen this quickly, I don't know how many were fully prepared for that. If you want to, I think that the obvious answer at some point in the next couple of years is that because of not just the logjam in the backcourt and the roles, but also the salaries that are going to be coming down the pike, the obvious answer, or at least the most likely answer, is at some point in the next couple of years, De'Aaron Fox is going to be traded. And that's not happening now, but it's really the only, the to me at least, it's the obvious answer. And I don't know, we can't really waffle with that one. Like, if I'm just being direct, like De'Aaron Fox in the next couple of years, very likely to be traded.
Yeah, I mean, for De'Aaron to stay out the rest of his contract, a lot of things would have to happen. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper probably have to take less than the max.
Or would have to have some sort of like precipitous fall from grace, or like massive regression.
Or some kind of crazy trade that one of them is involved in, because we just can't pass up on whoever it is that we're trading for. I don't see any of those things happening, probably. I don't think that means they should be in a rush to get De'Aaron Fox out of there. I think Dylan Harper still has a lot of growing to do, and that he can benefit from Fox being the starter. But yeah, especially if Dylan continues to play, like if he starts the season and he's just postseason Dylan Harper still, if he's still playing just like that and out there killing it, it's gonna get harder and harder to justify not putting him out there and getting him more minutes, because he's so efficient. He plays well. If he can set the table and be a point guard too, he's just that much more valuable to you. He's also a better on-ball defender just because of his length and size.
He's just bigger.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you talk about performance, because this isn't a situation where he's just going to be given the job.
No.
Like, this is, and you talk about, like, there is very clearly there is no rush. The Spurs really like the situation they have. Remember at the start of last year, one of the big things we were wondering is, like, how does this roster mesh? How do all these pieces, is that backcourt is a little bit weird. Can all those guys even play together? Like, how are they going to operate without the more traditional spacing look that you see from a lot of teams? Well, we just kind of failed to see that, hey, guess what? 48 minutes of having two high leverage and high quality advantage creators on the court at all times, whether it's Dylan and whether it's Steph and De'Aaron, Steph and Dylan, Dylan and De'Aaron, like, having two of those guys on the court at all times is so difficult for defenses to deal with. So we've already seen that this formula works really well. And in case you missed it, the Spurs have some unfinished business to attend to. So there, and when I say I'm glad you bring up the performance, this isn't, like I said, this isn't a job that's just going to be given to Dylan. He is going to have to go take it from De'Aaron Fox. And by the way, this is a huge season for De'Aaron Fox for a number of reasons. New contract kicks in. The scrutiny is going to be leveraged up even higher. He's going to be put even that magnifying glass is going to close in even more.
Every single mistake in a game, every bad game, every bad shooting night,
it's going to be annoying.
We're going to be talking about it. It's going to be all over Twitter.
The other thing is, he has sort of he's got a prove it situation coming off of those finals. Like, I'm always going to say that, like, I'm always going to remind people that he suffered a pretty nasty high ankle sprain.
Yes.
That he otherwise would have probably missed at minimum, a month, and probably closer to 6 weeks with that injury. He missed, like, the very end of the Minnesota series, and then the first 2 games of the Oklahoma City series.
Yeah,
and that's it. And he never really looked like himself. I think, and I'm always going to bring that up. But
important to remember, he probably wouldn't have been brought back that early if Stephon Castle didn't have 20 turnovers in 2 games.
Maybe, probably.
If they win those first 2 games and everything was going the way they had hoped it would, I don't think they rush him back.
If they won the first 2 games, he probably would have sat for at least another game. I agree with that. The other thing, though, is, like, I'm going to remind people of that, but I'm also going to say, like, that doesn't take away from the fact that there's just no question that he played poorly in the finals.
Yeah.
No question.
Yes.
Like, some of the decision-making that he made in the second half of a few of those games, and we all know the OG Anunoby block. We all know how that panned out. I know that he said after the game, and maybe it is just as simple as that, he thought he could beat OG Anunoby to the rim. He thought he had him. I get it. You're used to being the fastest guy on the court. Maybe your ankle didn't let you. You know, it's kind of one of those things that he couldn't quite do what he normally does. I don't know. But he's got some making up to do. He knows that. He also knows that he has Dylan Harper, nipping at his heels. Mm-hmm. He also knows, by the way, that whatever comes next in his career, he's only 28 years old. It's not like he's right in the middle of his prime. He's got theoretically, he's got a long basketball career ahead of him. So he's also got to think about what's next, whether that's in San Antonio or elsewhere. So this is a big season for De'Aaron Fox.
It's a big season for De'Aaron Fox, and if he follows the same logic we do, and he thinks he's probably going to be traded in 2 or 3 seasons, you don't want to have a finals run like that be right before the season you get traded, because that's going to limit his options on where he wants to go. You know what I mean? Like, if the Spurs are in a position where they have to give up assets to send De'Aaron Fox away, he's probably not going to go to a great, like, basketball situation.
Yeah, and, like, people talk about the fact that his contract is untradeable at this point. Well, that's because people have a sour taste in their mouth for sure from the finals, and they also see that money kicking in right away. Mm-hmm. It's not, like, I don't think teams are stupid. I don't think teams are out there saying, like, oh, we'll never touch him with a 10-foot pole. No. I think teams are out there saying, like, okay, we got to see what's next after, like, how he responds to that finals performance. Like, this is a contract that De'Aaron has every possibility of living up to. Mm-hmm. And if he rebounds and is back to an all-star self, all that stuff, moving him at some point along the way, it's not going to be a problem, because, man, that's just what NBA contracts are looking like these days. And if he does bounce back, and if he does get back to that form of all-star level, bordering on all-NBA level point guard, you're going to be okay. Your future's going to be okay no matter how you slice it. Like, yes, you're going to have to start talking about money at some point, but I guess this is a really long way of saying to Christian, the end game is these 3 guys. I think they might play together more this season, but end of the day, like, long term, there's not, to me at least, a realistic scenario where De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, and Steph Castle are all on the same team. It's just kind of how the money goes. It's how the roster construction goes. It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Younger guys are cheaper. That's why teams are so invested in keeping those draft picks. And
also just younger.
Yeah.
longer shelf life,
Longer shelf life.
Dylan Harper's 8 years younger than De'Aaron Fox. That's crazy. De'Aaron Fox isn't old.
Longer shelf life, but even, like, at the mid-level exception or those smaller veteran contracts, the longer guys are in the league, the more money they end up making. It's just the way it goes. So...
And we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens with the max contract stuff, because, like, Steph Castle and Dylan Harper are going to be in for some paydays if they live up to their potential and all of that. So we will see. The coming years are going to be very, very interesting. All the flexibility that we've seen for San Antonio over the last several years, that is going out the window quickly. Even as Victor Wembanyama allowed for some more flexibility with the contract that he took.
Sure did.
So thank their lucky stars. It will be interesting to see how guys like Steph Castle and Dylan Harper respond to what Victor did when he signed his deal. Anyway, thank you all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen, and thank you, Holly and Christian, for your voicemails. We cover the San Antonio Spurs here every single day. By the way, I know, there will be a squad show tonight. I know I said the other day that we had one yesterday, but there was a last-second schedule change that had to take place, so we will be on the air tonight. Thursday night. It's Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday. Thursday night. So remember to jump on with us later this evening. And also remember to subscribe and follow wherever you get podcasts so you get all the latest episodes of Locked On Spurs. You can find me on Twitter at Matthew_Tynan. And once again, over at the Corporate Knowledge newsletter, I am back to writing. We are back to getting stuff out there. More mailbags and then more regular writing. We're getting back on the horse beginning next week, so head on over there to check out more stuff. If you want more Spurs content, you will find it there. Tyler, where can they find you?
Writing over on Substack at thevideoman.substack.com if you like behind the scenes of video production and movie making. There's a couple articles up about that, and I'm going to be getting some more here in the near future. I'm also over on Instagram at Tyler Prince Film and running the Locked On Spurs account. Don't forget, tomorrow we are doing a mailbag episode. There's still time to get questions in if you would like to do that. And we will get to all of them in some way or form, whether that's written or on this podcast tomorrow or on this podcast next week. So make sure you send those in. And also, I'm going to plug again, if you want to send us a voicemail, that's at speakpipe.com/LockedOnSpurs. The link is in the description.
Yeah, if you want to be like Holly and Christian there, we really enjoy those. So definitely give us a holler if you feel it. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Podcast. If you want some more NBA, like general NBA, you're done with the Spurs stuff for the day, you want general NBA, head to Locked On NBA, whether that's podcast feed or on YouTube. There is no offseason for those guys and gals. Stay up to date on everything around the league so you are the most informed fan in your friend group. Okay. Until tomorrow, my friends, or I'll see you later tonight on the Squad Show. But for the two of us, that's Tyler Prince. I'm Matthew Tynan. Here's Victor Wembanyama.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Appreciate y'all. See y'all. Never.